Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good morning to everyone. Yang berhormat Dr. Xavier Jayakumar, Minister of Water, Land and Natural Resources, Cabinet Ministers, Yang berhormat Dr. Zulpuri Shah Raja Puji, Deputy Minister of Water, Land and Natural Resources, Deputy Ministers, High Commissioners and Ambassadors, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Firstly, I would like to thank the Ministry of Water, Land and Natural Resources and Yang Berhormat Dr. Xavier Jayakumar for inviting me to address and officiate the first of its kind Hutan Kita exhibition. When translated, it would be our forest, a powerful affirmation that the forest belongs to us. We can take the irresponsible contention that since it belongs to us, we can very well do what we like with it. On the other hand, I would like to believe that our interpretation of this tagline is positive, in which, since the forest is ours, it is our responsibility to protect and conserve its longevity, sustainability, and beauty. Further to that, it is also a declaration that it is something shared, meaning that protecting and conserving the forest is not only for ourselves and the present generation, but that of future generations. It is therefore a pleasure to be here today to witness this exhibition displaying our natural treasure filled with its richness in biodiversity of flora and fauna. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Malaysia's rainforests are among the most diverse on the planet. Pristine forests of all kinds occur across Malaysia, with complex structures from the mangrove forest to the highland forest. Even small areas of Malaysia's forests are richer in tree and wildlife species than most similar-sized areas in tropical Africa or America. Unlike many nations which rely on the finite natural resources such as fossil fuels or minerals, Malaysia has been blessed with a renewable resource which, when managed carefully, will continue to provide for our nation indefinitely. Not only do our abundant forests provide us with renewable timber and other forest products, but our tropical climate means our agro-commodities yield harvest which does not occur in more temperate regions. At the Rio Earth Summit in 1992, as the Prime Minister of Malaysia back then, I made a pledge that Malaysia is committed to maintain at least 50% of our land mass under forest cover. Today, almost 3 decades later, I am proud to announce that we have not reneged on our pledge. Malaysia's forest cover is currently at 55.3% or 18.28 million hectares of our total land area, actually exceeding Malaysia's initial commitment made in the Rio Earth Summit. This represents the nation's will and commitment to conserve and sustainably manage our forests, its flora and fauna. It represents our ability not only to honor our promise, but to to honor our promise to our global partners, but to outdo even our own expectations. Our forest cover today is even far higher than that of most large European countries, including France, Germany, Italy, and the United Kingdom. Today, Malaysia's economic growth and rapid urbanization, maintaining the forests and making existing agricultural land more productive to meet increasing demand could not have been achieved without adopting pragmatic, progressive, and sustainable development policies. The Land Conservation Act 1960, Wildlife Protection Act 1972, the National Forestry Act 1984 were instrumental legislations that have provided the legal framework covering every aspect, including land use, wildlife protection, administration, and conservation of forests. Ladies and gentlemen, Malaysia has been taking comprehensive measures to ensure that the country's economic development did not come at undue sacrifice of the natural resources. Programs for poverty eradication, forestry management, and protection of the country's rich biodiversity. Malaysia has worked hard to ensure that economic development and environmental conservation go hand in hand. As we make the transition towards becoming a developed nation, we put increasing pressure on our natural habitats and the species that they nurture. A key challenge, therefore, is to make that transition while ensuring that our forests are safeguarded. While focusing on economic growth and development, the government gives equal emphasis in promoting conservation of our natural resources. When logging becomes absolutely necessary, we have put in place mechanisms that improve the sustainability of this industry. Sustainable Forest Management, or SFM, is pursued through various national strategies and programs such as forest certification initiatives and the implementation of best agricultural practices. Malaysia has been implementing forest certification since 2001 through the Malaysian Timber Certification Scheme as a voluntary national timber certification scheme. The Malaysian Timber Certification Scheme has become a leading timber certification scheme for tropical forests in Southeast Asia. Malaysian Timber Certification Scheme has been accorded international recognition by becoming the first tropical timber certification scheme in the region to be endorsed by the Program for the Endorsement of Forest Certification, which is currently the largest forest certification system in the world. Having said that, although Malaysia has put in place various efforts to prevent forest loss, we still face challenges from our growing socio-economic development needs. The increasing population of Malaysia brings with it increased demand for food, water, and infrastructure, which places pressure on our forests. The impacts of the climate change further add to this pressure. Extreme changes in rainfall patterns as well as extended dry spells affect our forest ability to store and produce fresh water. Extreme storms uproot trees and damage forest habitats. Increasing temperature negatively impact many of our biodiversity especially local insect populations, driving away or wiping out our available pollinators. In the 11th Malaysia Plan, 2015 to 2020, substantial national resources have been allocated to enhance a wide range of actions to address climate change. Among the actions we have undertaken is to further enhance our conservation and restoration efforts, as it is known that even though climate change can affect our forests too can be used to reduce the impacts of climate change, as well as to stabilize the changing climate itself. Notably, Malaysia has implemented two national initiatives, namely the Central Forest Spine in Peninsular Malaysia and the Heart of Borneo, or HOB, in Sabah and Sarawak, to protect the forest ecosystems while building resilience of our forests to climate change and increasing connectivity between forest reserves. Moving forward, the government will outline 8 key actions that will be implemented to enhance Malaysia's efforts in sustainability, forest management, mainstreaming biodiversity in Malaysia's socio-economic development agenda in the era of post-2020. On the global front, as one of the world's most biodiverse nations, Malaysia takes its commitment to conservation seriously and is proud to be a signatory to an extensive list of global treaties on conservation, wildlife, forestry, and the environment. Malaysia is party to various multilateral forest conservation-related conventions and agreements, such as the Convention on Biological Diversity, the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, the Convention on Wetlands of International Importance, and Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Flora and Fauna. As party to these conventions, Malaysia is obliged to develop national strategies, plans, and programs by taking measures for the conservation and sustainable use of natural resources. Malaysia sees these multilateral environmental agreements as a key part of its formula for balance, in the sense of its responsibility to the planet, its responsibility to the people to ensure their right to food, clothing, and shelter, and balance in the right every nation enjoys, to employ its natural resources to raise its people out of poverty, and to seek long-term sustainable and shared prosperity for the country. Ladies and gentlemen, we have been accused of putting the need for development before the needs of our forests. The issue of deforestation for oil palm plantation has always been championed by our detractors. The claims linking palm oil to deforestation is baseless, unfair, and unjustified. These claims bring negative impact to Malaysia, which depends highly on the palm oil industry to raise the socio-economic well-being of our people in order to help us achieve sustainable development goals. It has also significant detrimental effects on oil palm growers, which include 650,000 smallholders, as well as another 1.5 million people employed throughout the palm oil supply chain. The truth is, the palm oil industry in Malaysia has been developed sustainably and responsibly. The government is adhering to the Sustainable Development Goals, has put in measures to ensure this industry does not cause environmental degradation, as well as to avoid unsustainable practices such as destruction of forests and wildlife habitats. The Malaysian palm oil industry is now focusing on improving productivity and yields rather than expanding land to avoid deforestation and direct or indirect land use change. Apart from that, restrictions on the planting of oil palm is on peat land as well as permanent forest reserves have also been imposed. In line with the above, the government has set the minimum arable land for oil palm cultivation at 6.55 million hectares by the year 2023. It is encouraging that the state of Sarawak has imposed moratorium on state land for palm oil plantation, which does not allow new planting of oil palm on state land, including on peat land. Malaysia stands proud to share some of our sustainable practices with the world. Malaysia has introduced the Malaysian Sustainable Palm Oil Certification Scheme in 2013 and will be made mandatory commencing 1st January 2020. This certification wholly and clearly addresses global concerns on the sustainable production of palm oil, including that of biodiversity loss, greenhouse gas emissions, and the destruction of wildlife habitats. Through the Malaysian Sustainable Palm Oil Scheme, every drop of palm oil produced in Malaysia will be subscribing to sustainability practices. Ladies and gentlemen, the forest is our shared heritage. It is also our shared responsibility. Conserving it will require our collective and sustained efforts, be it individuals, governments, academicians, the private sector, the media, indigenous and local communities, as well as international organizations. Everyone has a part to play, and we all need to come together for our forests and for the sake of our future generations, to enable greater implementation of forest conservation as well as overcoming the gaps and constraints faced. Adequate and substantial technical and financial resources are needed for this success. Malaysia will continue to explore opportunities in accessing support from the developed countries and international organizations. In conjunction with this auspicious event, I would like to take the opportunity to announce that the merbau tree, otherwise known as Melaka teak, has been chosen as our national tree. With its hardy nature, I believe that all Malaysians can take the merbau as a symbol of national pride. I hereby reaffirm Malaysia's commitment to maintain at least 50% of forest cover in accordance with our commitment made at the Rio Earth Summit in 1992. I am indeed confident that the Hutan Kita exhibition will be a catalyst in increasing awareness among us with regards to our forests. It is our forest, and therefore we are responsible for it. On that note, it gives me great pleasure to declare the Hutan Kita exhibition officially open. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Yang Mohamad Tun Prime Minister. May we request that you kindly remain on stage as we invite Yang Mohamad Dr. Xavier to join the Prime Minister on stage for the official launch.
Ladies and gentlemen, the moment we have all been waiting for is finally here. Prime Minister, on the count of 3, may we invite you to please place your palm on the screen in front of you. 1, 2, 3.
To witness and experience firsthand the wonders of Hutan exhibition.
Ladies and gentlemen, we invite everyone else to please remain seated. There will be a live feed to show us the Prime Minister's movement through the exhibition, and we will slowly invite everyone in batches to avoid congestion, to make sure you all get the best